Hey, welcome back to Caffeinated CX, where we talk about customer experience and stuff, all in a hyper caffeinated state. I'm David, the Caffeinated CXO, and welcome once more to Caffeinated CX. Yeah, how you doing? You doing good? You doing fine? You doing all right? Good. I'm glad to hear that. Unless you're not, then I'm sorry to hear that. I'm going to go with the first one because positivity wins the race, doesn't it? So, today we're diving into a subject that's not for the weak-willed. The unrelenting pursuit of turning your customer service department into a force of nature through unwavering, non-stop training. We live in a world that is constantly moving, constantly evolving, and customer expectations are rising exponentially, which is not a bad thing, right? Hesitation equals defeat. And you have to forge a mindset that sets your customer service department apart as champions. They're not just answering calls. They're shaping perceptions. They're not just answering calls. They're igniting loyalty. They're not just answering calls. They're building your business's legacy. But listen to me here. If you believe for a moment that they've peaked, you're in for a cold slap of reality. So, picture this. Your customer service team, not as employees, but as a band of wolves, hungry for constant evolution. Training, it's their blade, honed through the crucible of relentless skill refinement, empathy deepening, and solution crafting. Understand this. Excellence is not a plateau where you set up camp. It's a relentless climb with no summit. If you slack, if you ease up, you're signing your business's death warrant. The competition, they're not idling. They're trading like their lives depend on it, because they do. Your customer service department isn't just answering questions. They're crafting your brand's identity. They're not just solving problems, they're sculpting loyalty and sparking fires of word of mouth. But here's the thing. To train them half-heartedly is to send them into battle unarmed and unprepared. Stay vigilant. Channel your resources, your sweat, and your relentless focus into training like it's the very oxygen that you breathe, because it is. Embrace the fury of ongoing learning, the art of adaptability, and the science of delivering shockwaves of service excellence. Now, let's confront the grim reality of neglect. Envision a team of your customer service people shackled by outdated tactics. They're facing modern challenges with antiquated weaponry. They're going into a firefight with a rock. Customer problems met with inadequate solutions. Negative feedback, a tidal wave of disappointment. And guess what? Competitors are capitalizing on your shortcomings, feasting on your market share like vultures. But hold the line, there's light in the darkness. The beauty of ceaseless training doesn't reside in isolated moments. It thrives in the symphony of constant evolution. Observe the transformation. Track the customer responses. Measure the speed at which problems are solved. Watch as disgruntled clients turn into advocates standing tall behind your brand. But let's not stop there. Picture the ripple effect. See how relentless training propagates like wildfire across your entire enterprise. Marketing is infused with a voice of authority that resonates. Sales is empowered with stories of fantastic service that close deals. Your business as a whole, it becomes a powerhouse that's impossible to ignore. Here's the bottom line on this. The pursuit of greatness knows no bounds, and neither should your dedication to forging the ultimate customer service department. Train them like they're crafting masterpieces, because in the world of ever-escalating competition and ever-escalating customer experiences and expectations, that's exactly what they're doing. So that's the rant that I had for this episode, but I'm going to touch on a couple of other things. I'm going to touch on your training is only as good as the material and the trainers that you have. Be incredibly picky about who you have doing your trainings, who you have doing your coachings, and who you have that oversees the entire thing. Nothing will tank a department and a department's morale than good training with bad trainers. You have to be on the lookout. If you have a team lead setup where you have a team lead who, or a supervisor, or whatever you want to call them, that has a group of like 5 to 10 people, and they do weekly or bi-weekly coaching with them, make sure they're doing it. Make sure they're good at doing it. Because if they're not doing either of those things, if there's no consistent coaching schedule, all the training material that you've prepared, you might as well just throw it in the trash can and light it on fire. So it's just a waste of time if you don't have the right people doing it. And that's the hard part. That's the hardest part about all this. Yeah, coming up with a cohesive training curriculum and this, that, and the other is hard to do for a lot of people. It is. Because you can't have ChatGPT do all of it, right? You have to go back in and spot check and make sure everything's correct. But you have to make sure that it's being executed on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly cadence. Because if it's not, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. And all that work you did on that is gone. So make sure your trainers and your team leads and your supervisors are, one, knowledgeable with the training. They shouldn't have to have a manual to go off of to train people, right? It's good to have, it's good, but they shouldn't have to need it in order to train or coach. They should know it backwards and forwards. They should have memorized the majority of it. If your team leads, supervisors, or trainers don't know the business or the call or the customer voice or anything backwards and forwards, you failed as a leader. And I failed at this too. And it's heartbreaking to know. So, but you can always come back. You can always make it better. And that's what you have to do. If the current team leads, supervisors, trainers that you have aren't cutting the mustard, well, you can either spend the time and train them correctly, make sure they understand, and then do an audit after the training to make sure they did get it, right? Or you should get new ones. This is the most important thing that you can have in your center. Even if you outsource, make sure they're using your material and they're training it well. And it's really easy to find out if they're not. So, yeah. You want to have a cohesive, coherent, rock-solid training curriculum, and then you want to have people be able to execute on it. If you don't, it's gone. If you don't, your customers are going to be like, okay, and go on to the competitor, especially in industries where the market is saturated, right? Where you guys do the same thing as the other people in your industry, and you have more or less the same prices, and the only thing that makes you a little bit different is your branding and your customer service, right? You want to go hard on the training. What's the phrase? Hard in the paint, I think it is. You want to do that. with the training, and then reiterate, retrain, uptrain, coach, quiz, all of that stuff a lot. Because if you're not doing it, you're failing. And you're not just failing your company, you're failing your people, and you're failing yourself. And I don't know about you, but I don't like that. So make sure that your trainers are training correctly. Make sure your team leads are leading correctly. Make sure everybody is on the same page and you don't have a rogue team lead out there who is pretending to do the coaching, and then when you audit them, it's like they were just sending instant messages back and forth, and that's what they call coaching. No, that's not coaching. That's like a check-in, right? That's not coaching. Coaching is either face-to-face or over video chat, honestly. So always do that. So that's been today's episode of Caffeinated CX. If you got anything out of it, go ahead, like, share, review, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. You know what to do. Every other podcast asks it, but we have to ask it because otherwise it won't get done. So, if you can, let me know what you thought about it. Post it on LinkedIn or wherever. Also, if you like the video game background stuff, yeah, I pre-record it and then I play it over this. Mostly because I get like hyper-focused when I'm playing and I can't talk. So I'd be like the worst video game streamer ever. So there we go. But I'll see you next time.